Hi friends, I'm Louise from Made by Elle, and I am glad you're here. Thanks for joining me for my part of the sewing marathon today, where we make the Louie Waist Pack from Uh-Oh Creations. This was a really fun make. I had a great time doing it. I will say it still had some parts that challenged me. I don't by any means think that I am a super experienced sewer or a professional sewist, but I had a lot of fun doing this. There were definitely some things in here that allowed me to build skills. Um, I had never had zipper flanges before. That was interesting. But this is it's a fun make. It builds on itself in a really fun way, and I did enjoy making it. It came out so nice. Big open pocket. I made the medium size, and I honestly, I don't know that I'm going to let anyone have this. I'm really happy with it. It's so pretty. My fabric is gorgeous. I love my ink cap, zipper pulls here. Made a couple of modifications in the pattern. I don't know. I don't normally deviate from the pattern, but I did make a couple of modifications this time. I riveted in my strap as opposed to doing the extra top stitching, largely because I was using contrasting thread, and I have a sincere fear of contrasting thread when I'm top stitching. I had no D-rings, so we used rectangle rings instead. And I went with a slider and a swivel hook and made a more traditional strap rather than using a side release buckle. But as you can see, it came together really nicely, and I'm excited to sew this with you. Hopefully, you will find some things in my tutorial that will give you some ideas or some things to make it a little bit easier when you make the hundreds of these that you're going to want to make after today. So let's get started. All right, let's go over our pieces and then we can get started on the bag. I have got our main. I've got one exterior and two lining. I am using cotton canvas for my exterior. I did interface it with a 101 equivalent. This is Gold Star Tools 101 equivalent. And then I'm using a lighter weight waterproof canvas. It does have the plastic backing to it. That is not interfaced. I have got our back top, which is only the exterior. Again, all my cotton canvas is interfaced with a 101 equivalent. The zipper gusset, I've got one exterior and one lining, which is waterproof canvas. Back
I didn't
bottom.
get that. Could you?
Okay, Siri, nobody was talking to you. My back bottom is one exterior and one lining. Strap wings is two exteriors. Back lining is only one of the lining. And my zipper flanges, I've got two sets, one exterior and one lining for each. One set is mirrored, which means that I cut one with the pattern piece this way, and then I cut the other set with the pattern piece flipped over like this, so that they will fit on the other side. I have made the marks on my zipper flanges and on my main exterior, the front panel, that are on the pattern pieces. This is the strap cover. I'm not sure, it's in the pattern. I'm not sure that I'm going to do my strap that way. I haven't decided yet, so I cut it out, but I don't know that I'm going to use it. So I've got it. We'll see if I end up using it. As I said, I've made all the markings from the pattern pieces on my fabric, and I made these marks on the main. It says on the in the pattern to mark them on the exterior, and I did, using a chalk marker, but I am not even sure if you can see it at all right there. But it's very faint. So I also made the marks on the back as well. Could be completely useless. Who knows? In all patterns, no matter what, whether it says to in the directions or not, I always mark the top and bottom centers of my pattern pieces. I'm going to try and keep my hands down. I've got my camera adjusted to make it a little bit less wobbly and zoomy, for lack of a better word. If I move my hand up too far, it starts zooming on it. So I'm going to try and not talk with my hands as much as I normally do. I mark the centers on all of my pattern pieces, even if the pattern does not say to. I always mark it within the seam allowance, so it's not a big deal. I've already done that on all of them, but in case anyone is newer to sewing, I want to show you what I mean when I say mark them. You can do it with a marking implement, like a pencil or pen or whatever. You can do it on the right side or the wrong side, as long as you keep it within the seam allowance. I personally prefer to mark my centers by making a small notch, because then I don't run the risk of it rubbing off anywhere between point A and point B. So I'm going to do that on this one piece here, just so that you can actually see. Wow, I am incapable of keeping my hand still. So you can actually see what I'm talking about when I say mark your centers, and the tininess of the smallness, the minuteness, I don't know, how tiny I make my snips to mark my centers. So this is what I'm talking about. The tiniest of tiny snippets. Tiny, tiny, tiny snippets. Tiny, tiny, tiny snippets. But it is marked well within the seam allowance for this pattern. And hopefully, I'm going to make you dizzy. You can see that. There we go. Okay. So I also mark the centers on my zippers. It's going to drive me crazy. Let me put this back together. I mark the centers on my zippers using chalk. I mark the centers on the inside and the outside of my zipper. Again, I use chalk. I really can talk, honestly. I talk a lot. So I should be a professional talker. Mark the centers on the inside and the outside of my zippers. And I just use my little chalk pencil for the inside. I just mark it right at the edge there, because that's what I'm going to be looking at when I'm lining something up. I don't worry about going all the way to my teeth. Same thing on the other side. Just mark it at the edge, because that's where I'm going to need it. Then I pinch it tight, and I'm old school. I have said it before, I'm old school. I use regular chalkboard chalk, and I just make a mark on the center of my zipper there. My friend Kim likes to tell me that pastel markers that you can get at art stores also work. This is like $1.50 for like a 5-year supply. So I'm cheap and old school and basic. But then my centers are marked on my zipper, on the front, and on the back. And see, this is why I'm focusing just on the edge, because no matter how I hold it, I'm going to kind of swerve a little bit. So, but the edges of those two lines are the same. Let's also go over the rest of what we need to make this. We need 2 zippers. Their lengths are listed inside of the pattern. So we need the 2 zippers. One is longer than the other. One is going to be our main zipper, and one is going to be our back zipper. We will need a total of 3 zipper pulls, 2 main ones, and 2 for the main zipper and 1 for the back. We'll need webbing for 2 pieces of webbing, 1 long one. You determine the length based upon your preference with the pattern instructions, and 1 short one, which is the anchor piece of webbing. You'll need a side release buckle. I'm doing 1.5 inch webbing, so I've got this ginormous 1.5 inch side release buckle. I would prefer metal, but turns out somebody that looks suspiciously like me did not order any metal ones. Pattern calls for a D-ring. I do not have a D-ring, so I'm going to use a triangle ring instead. Need webbing. The length and width is indicating the pattern. I'm using, pattern says fold over elastic or bias tape. I'm using waterproof canvas that matches what my lining is. This is an optional thing. I'm going to add a bag tag to my make. I've also gone ahead and marked the center of my bag tag with my lovely piece of chalkboard chalk. All right, now we can get started. Okay, let's get started putting our our back of our bag together. I have laid down some double-sided tape. I've got 1/8 inch Wawak double-sided tape, the hyper stick. That's my preferred. The seam allowance in this pattern is sufficient that you can use 1/8 or 1/4 inch double-sided tape and it will remain out of your seam allowance. I have 1/4 inch to hand and I'm just putting my zipper on, so that's sufficient. I'm going to take my shorter zipper, piece of zipper tape. I do not have my pull on yet. This piece of zipper tape is set up to be longer than this actual pattern piece is, so I'll be able to put my zipper pull on afterwards and my tape will go on smoother without it. So I'm going to center my, as I stick to this Wawak tape will, like, you could stick a toddler to the wall with it. That's my current, that's like legitimately my feels on it. I'm going to line up the center of my zipper and the center of this pattern piece. This is the back bottom lining. And then I'm just going to go across and align my zipper tape as I go across. Not stretching or pulling on my zipper tape. Don't want to do that because then you can have it be really off kilter at the end. I'm just laying it across from side to side. I am going to try not to headbutt the camera. I am going to add clips as well before all is said and done because, again, I would much rather tack this than under tack it. All right, there we go. And then I'm gonna put some clips on this and then we baste it along the top edge. Now I do have, like I said, I can stick a toddler to the wall with it tape on, so I don't need a whole bunch. I normally work in vinyl. So I normally construct at a minimum of 3.5, usually 4, and I top stitch at between 5 and 6 usually. This bag is all either cotton canvas or waterproof canvas, so I have actually dialed my stitch length all the way down to 3 for my construction. That's just an FYI for you. It doesn't have any bearing on the world at large, but just letting you know. Piece. This is the back bottom exterior piece here. I'm going to lay it face down on top. Again, I'm going to lay some tape and I put it along this edge, the top edge. This is directional fabric, so I actually have to pay attention. And I think I mentioned it. I really hope I mentioned it, but it was lining piece right side up, zipper, tape right side up. Baste those together. Now I'm attaching the back bottom exterior right side down, so the right sides are together, centered, lining up my center markings. All right, I'm lined up here, more clips again. This time I'm gonna sew it on with the full seam allowance. I say that knowing that the foot on my machine may not allow me to sew it with the full seam allowance. So I am basically going to shoot for the full seam allowance. If that doesn't work, I'm going to sew it as close to that as I can, as close to the zipper teeth as I can get my foot to go. All right, so now we fold this away from the zipper. We fold both pieces away from the zipper. and then we're going to top stitch along the zipper. Now, I can iron this because I'm using, like I said, I'm using cotton canvas, and even the waterproof canvas can take a little bit of heat, but I honestly don't want to get up and go in the other room where my iron is, iron and ironing board are. So I'm just going to, finger press it, and then I'm going to use a seam roller. And then I'm just going to lengthen my stitch length back out and top stitch. Back lining right side up. Okay, so I'm gonna put some double-sided tape along this edge. This machine is Molly, by the way. I don't think I introduced you all. And trying to give you the best view possible. Matching up my centers, the center mark on my zipper and the little notch there. Lining those up, smushing. I'm gonna lay it down and go across. All right, so I put that down, and then we take our, I'm sorry, I was at a convention this weekend. I had a horror convention this weekend, and I am reasonably certain that I picked up some cooties there. And I'm trying really hard not to cough my head off. Okay, directional fabric. This is a challenge for me. So I need to attach this here like this. So I need to put tape on that side. Okay. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Wait. What? There, like that. Ha ha ha. No, I need to put it here. See? I told you I was going to do it. So now I got the notch in this piece. So you can see it. And the center marked on my zipper. There it is. And I'm going to line them up and put this together. I still have not put my zipper pull on yet, intentionally, because like I said, it's just easier to lay the zipper tape down and attach it without that on. Now we're supposed to sew this together. We've made a zipper sandwich, like a normal zipper sandwich here. We've got our lining on the back side, aligned up at the top of the zipper. We've got our back top exterior here. And again, let's pull one more time with feeling. It appears it will go the right way. And now we're going to sew along here with the full seam allowance. There. Okay, so now we press this up away from the zipper. And I am going to, again, press this with my seam roller. And then top stitch just along here, just along the top of above the zipper tape. Okay, now that we have got this sewn together and have top stitched above and below the zipper, see the top stitching there above and below the zipper. Our back panel is constructed. So again, I still don't have my zipper pull on. It's okay. We need to take our pattern piece and we need to lay it on top of this piece, align our dashed line here with the center of our zipper tape. And then we're going to draw around this piece, draw the shape of our pattern piece around it, and then we'll trim this down. I'm going to do that off camera. So I've gone over to the my cutting table, and I've used my pattern piece to draw out the markings for what I need to trim this panel down to. I almost cut it before putting my zipper pull on, which wouldn't be a big deal, but I do want to go ahead and put my zipper pull on before I cut it. We are supposed to put our zipper on to where the head closes to the left. So this is the top. Hey, look at that. It's going in the right direction. This is the top, so I'm going to put it with my zipper going in this way. So I'm going to put it on from this end, and we will see if I can do it without making you all super dizzy. Okay, look, I think we got it now. Oh, hey, look at that. Yes. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Okay. Whew. So that was fun. Now I'm going to trim around my marks here and clean this up. I'm going to put a couple clips on while I trim it just to keep everything together while I'm snipping it down. I am back, and I trimmed this down over at the cutting table. So it is shaped like our front exterior panel. So we're looking pretty good. This bag is a combo mix. The front of the bag is birth. The front panel of the bag is birth. The back panel is bound. So we are going to baste this onto this. Wrong side of this to wrong side of our lining. So I got waterproof canvas. So here is the side with the texture, the side with the plastic, right side together with the back side of this. I am going to take a second while I'm here and find my centers again. All right, now I've got the inside and the outside notched all the way through. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna put these together, wrong sides together, and baste around it. We may get interrupted in just a second because here she comes. There she is. Right. Oh, it's a baby. Say hello, baby. Hello, baby. Hello, everyone. It's a Nixie Pixie Dust. All right, I'm going to pause this to get some kitty food. Okay, so finished up the back panel, and then we can set that aside now. Nixie's also been fed because I know you're worried. Now we're going to start working on our zipper gusset. So I've got my other zipper tape, my zipper flanges, my 2 zipper pulls. So I've got double-sided tape on all 4 of mine. We're going to see if I can Jenga my pieces together. Again, lining up the straight edge, not the angled edge. There you go, angled, not the angled edge. Aligning that at the top and at the side. And then we baste this in place, but I've got it taped. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and baste it because that's what it says do. Now I place this, nope, yes, on top like this. And now we're going to take the exterior piece and do the same thing. We're going to align the end and the straight edge with the top of the zipper tape. Okay, so these are together, aligned at this end and along the top. Now we are going to sew along with the full seam allowance. We're going to sew along here to the mark that we made on this. And when we reach that point, we are going to pivot our zipper like this. So we're going straight, 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 and we're going to keep sewing straight. We are literally pivoting our zipper to where this is now straight, and we're kind of making a pseudo dart in this. See how it causes some bunching in the zipper there? It's going to give us a little bit of a form out. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm putting a little bit of tape, a little piece of tape along that angled corner where we're supposed to do our turn at, our pivot at. And since this is super sticky tape, I want to get it off of my machine and off of me, but it's currently sticking to me. And then I want to put this one on the other side. Here. Okay, so this is the top. I'm putting it on the inside of this angle here. And we're going to see if we can make this work. I'm just going to get creative and see if we can make it happen. All right, so this is where we're pivoting at the back there. I am turning my zipper tape and lining it up with that and pressing it down super duper hard. Peel this piece of tape on the front here. And line it up, and press it down super duper hard. In theory, this maybe will work. I have kind of mangled the tip of this though. If it works on this side, then I know what to do for the other side and we won't have this fun again. Now I'm just going to pick up sewing right here at this point where we stopped. Literally, I'm going to put my needle down in the exact same hole that I left in. And it's going to be a trick, but I'm going to do it. There we go. Rubber. All right. And this time it should hold. And again, we're still sewing straight. We're just pivoting. The tape is all that's actually pivoting. We are still sewing straight, in theory. That's what the pattern says. We're sewing straight. The zipper tape is not. Okay, look at that. It worked. All right, now we know what to do with the other side. So again, if you are not comfortable with using double-sided tape, even though it will be out of your seam allowance, then just glue this. Use some Fabri-Tac Beacon glue or whatever glue you are comfortable sewing with. Okay, so I did the tape thing on the other end and it seems to work. You can see how we've got a little bit of a buckle in the zipper tape. And that's what we're going for. It's that little bit of a curve there in it. Now we push these two pieces back. We fold our two flanges back and finger press them real good and top stitch along both of them. So I've got directional fabric. So I need to put the side that doesn't have the flanges on it against the bottom of my directional fabric. If you don't have directional fabric, it doesn't matter. You're smarter than me. I should have done that too, but I didn't. So now I need to tape that in place. If I can find my tape. I'm going to tape that in place. And then we're going to baste that on. And we're going to lay the lining face down and sew along it with the full seam allowance. All right, so more tape, much more tape. off so much easier on the waterproof canvas than it does on the cotton. Press this away from each other, press this away from the zipper, and put the zipper gusset pieces wrong sides together. We're going to finger press them real good, or you could go to the iron and press them. I'm going to use my roller again and press them away from the zipper. And then we're going to top stitch down the side here. Going down and around here. Ooh, let me see. Down here and around and back up, closing this all up. So put right side of your lining to right side of your base. Your zipper gusset lining to the right side of your zipper gusset base. Not gonna lie, I would normally tape this, but I'm gonna live a wild and crazy life here and not tape it this time and see if the world implodes. If it does, just remember, normally I would tape it. And then I'm gonna take my beak. Okay. This is very, look, directional fabrics, y'all. This is what I want, right? This is what I want. This is what I want. Woo. All right, I'm going to take the base exterior and add it to this little sandwich here. And they, again, should all line up. The tiny bit we're off, I'm not going to lose sleep over. I would like everyone who has ever met me to mark their calendars because those are not words I say. But I am feeling froggy today and we're going to go for it. I have no idea what feeling froggy means, but I'm feeling it. And we're going to see what happens. All right. Sew this with the full seam allowance. Pretty sure. Yep. Okay. Flip this. We've got it sewn on now with the seam allowance. You're supposed to flip these both pieces. Yep. Place them both away from the zipper gusset. Again, I'm finger pressing like it's going to make a dang bit of difference. It is not going to make a lick of difference. I'm just going to clip them. I'm going to clip them and just top stitch here. Top stitch along here to the side of my zipper. Alright, one down. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to flip this over here and put our exterior to exterior, line them up. Hey, look, we're the right size here. I don't know how I did that, but I did. We're rolling with it. I started singing and we're all in trouble. Oh no. Oh no. There's no telling what song will come out. And then we're going to kind of smush it all together because we need to put this part here. We need to bring this end up to here, match it together. So we'll go there and there and there. Just kind of fold it up inside of here so that we can sew it down. All right, this is going to be a little tighter this time, but we're going to do the same thing. We flip it, flip it out, and turn. Stop banging. Children behave. Turn our wrong sides together, right sides out, and we're going to press this away from the zipper. Press our bottom gusset away from our base, is what's called, our base piece away from the zipper. This is what we've got now. All right, we are going to sew both sides of our base, the bottoms of this, together, and just baste them together so they are held together. You should be able to, if all your pieces lined up and are the right size, you should be able to just pull your piece tight, taut, and just clip a couple of times, and it should fit pretty nicely together. Okay, so our gusset is all basted together now. Well, our gusset base, I guess, is all basted together now on both sides. Now we're going to set this aside and we're going to construct our straps. Fold the strap wing in half with the right sides together. And it looks like I'm doing the long piece first. Yes, I'm doing the long piece of webbing first. I did not have a D-ring, so I'm using a triangle ring. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I didn't have any D-rings. Apparently whoever does the shopping for this house did not feel that 1.5-inch D-rings were necessary. Also, not sure if I mentioned it, but I'm doing the medium size and I'm using 1.5-inch webbing. Okay, so I'm going to fold it in half, right sides together, through, like that. How far? Okay. This is so confusing, me and directions, man. Whew. Now I'm going to sew, okay, got it. Let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's going to be upside down. Right now, we top stitch here, 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 like that. We baste all the way around? Yes. We go all the way around. We top stitch all the way around. I am not going to do the extra top stitching around. I think what I want to do is actually what I saw Nicole do in hers, and I want to put a rivet in here to secure my webbing inside of here. Oh, hey, look, there's some. Secure my webbing inside of here with a rivet. I think that's what I want to do as opposed to top stitch around multiple times. I'm going to trim this little piece off here. Oh, this is actually pretty. Really did catch that. I managed to, by complete fluke, put the rivets in the strap wing. Here we go. Put the rivets in there to secure the webbing as opposed to doing the extra top stitching. But I have decided to do the strap in a different manner. So what I'm going to do instead is use a regular tri-glide and swivel hook and make this more like a regular strap. If I can get this right. I should have realized that I wanted to do this before I put the other end in to the fabric because I confused the bejesus out of myself when I do this. I think I'm doing it right. I've got my tri-glide on, dropping my swivel hook in, whoa, throwing my strap around, and everything is going in the right direction. And then I'm going to come up here, pull my strap out. The child is coming in, so hopefully we will not have a whole lot of noises, but I promise nothing. Slide my strap through the middle, over the middle bar, inside. So I slid my strap up through the middle and in like that. And now I'm going to put these two pieces, the tail end of it, here. I'm going to sew them together. Okay, now we're going to take our other strap wing and our small piece of webbing, and we're going to follow the same steps. And we're going to ignore the holes that are currently in the fabric, indicating it was sewn previously in the wrong direction. And we're going to, like this, like that, right? Okay. Long piece out the open side, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. Okay. Here we're going to fold it in half, and we are going to, sorry, fold it in half, matching our edges. Couple clips in here to hold it together. Excuse me. Slide the webbing in with it overhanging from our curved edge by the amount specified in the pattern. And we push it, make sure it's pushed snug against the top, clip it in place. And now we're going to sew down this edge at the full seam allowance stated in the pattern. We are picking up with doing the top stitching around the strap anchor portion of the strap wing. For anyone wondering, it turns out that I am incredibly susceptible to Dayquil, and therefore filming this tutorial is a 2-day process. I apologize in advance for any froggy throats or sniffles that I don't manage to edit out. But just like we did on the other side, and I'm going to pull this out and show you again. We secured it with rivets. And that's what I'm going to do on this one as well, is just put some rivets in here as well. Okay, so I've placed my 2 rivets. And I only placed 2 rivets this time as opposed to 4 because we're going to be folding this strap over this way and sewing it down, so it will already have additional reinforcement. So now we are going to we'll slip our buckle on per the pattern instructions, but as I'm not using the side release buckle that is stated in the pattern, I'm just using some rectangle rings. I'm going to slide my rectangle ring on. This is where you would put on the female portion of your side release buckle. That is the one without the prongs sticking out. At least I hope it is. I hope it's like everything else. So this is the one without the prongs sticking out. And I'm looking, yep, it's the one without the prongs sticking out. There we go. And you see I've got 2 lines. Let's see. So I've got 2 lines drawn on my webbing. Those are measurements given in the pattern for where I'm supposed to sew down from this. So down here and over and across. I'm going to make a little rectangle box here to secure this part. The next thing that we do is slide the D-ring. Again, in my lack of preparedness, I don't have any D-rings. So I'm going to slide another rectangle ring on here and push it up. So there is going to be just enough room for me to sew through this. You can see I've got the ring on here, and there's a very little room. So thankfully I've got a skinny foot. If you have a zipper foot, this may be a good idea to put a zipper foot on to do this. Not too bad for anyone. But I wanted to show you what I meant when I said there was just, it was a tight space to sew into. So now we're going to attach our wings to the back. I'm not going to tell any lies. I'm a little nervous about attaching this with this little room, but we're going to go for it. There's a specific measurement in the pattern that tells you how far down to place your wings. So I've got those marks on here, and you're going to want to put your zipper kind of towards the middle so that you've got room, and then attach. We're going to clip these two on. Now, the pattern reads that your side release buckle part, so the one with the short webbing, should be on the, with your back piece right side up, should be on the right side, and this one with the longer piece of webbing is going to be on your left. So again, I don't have the buckle, but I'm going to lay these on here, line them up with my mark, and clip them along the side here. We're going to sew this down here, and then I'm going to go off camera and switch thread again to sew the other, and then come back on to sew the other side down. And we sew this down with the full seam allowance, which is listed in the, all right, are we basting it? Nope, we're just basting them on. We're just basting them on, okay. And our little birdie's looking so cute. Honestly, this is really a pretty pattern. Okay. We're at the final construction phase. Woo! All right, we're going to take the plain main exterior, which would be the front main. I have my label on the back. Place it right side up. My markings that I made in the beginning are still barely visible. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see it there and there. My markings are still visible. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm going to pull my zipper open. Sorry, I'm rereading this going, did you read that right? My center marking is still visible on the outside, not barely visible on the inside, but I'm going to open my zipper just because it's going to make it easier. But I am going to line that up there. All right, so the pattern suggests sewing the top and the bottom straight edges first, and then sewing your sides, lining up your gusset marks. But my gusset marks lined up, and this fit really well. So I'm just going to go around it. Sewn on, I am going to zip this up and turn it and see what we're looking like here. Look at how nice that is. So I'm going to turn this wrong side out again. And basically we're going to smush it all down, smush this all down, and we're going to sew along this edge. So we're going to start with matching up our centers and just start clipping around. Since we are going to be turning this, I need to make marks down here. How far should I leave it? How much of an opening should I leave? I'm going to make a mark here and okay, here. I'm going to start sewing here. Nope. Yes, no. I'm going to start sewing at one of the sides and go around to the other. I'm going to trim these down now. Really hope that I got it all right in here. I'm obviously not trimming the top ones. I'm going to trim the canvas part of the top, but I'm not going to trim anything more along the top there, just because that would be begging for trouble. Okay. Let's see what we got. I think I am going to turn it again and try and get tighter in around here. But I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, we've got this done. Our front is done. We've turned it through. We do have this bottom part here. Our turning hole is still open, and we need to close that up. I got a string there. There are different options for how to do it. What I'm going to do is actually, I am going to tape this down, tape my whole close, and put some tape down it there and close it up. You could hand stitch it. You can tape it down, like what I'm going to do. You could tape it down. You see inside of there. Tape it down. And then, or use some glue on it and then iron over it, and that'll kind of melt it closed. And from what I've seen in other tutorials on this bag, that does pretty well keep it closed. It doesn't generally come open. I'm going to tape it, and then I am going to turn this, and I'm going to top stitch all the way around this, and that's going to catch this as well down here. All right, so there is our top. I'm sorry, our front. Our front exterior, all done. Our turning hole is closed up. Like all nice and pretty all around. Like I said, our turning hole is closed up there, sealed up tight. Now we are going to, we're at the last part of it. We're going to be putting our back piece onto the gusset, and then the bag will be built. I'm gonna do what everybody else has done, and I'm gonna fold up my big long strappy strap here and stick it inside of the pocket in hopes that it will stay in there and not come out and while I'm trying to sew this all together. In theory, that might work. Okay. Not going to tell any lies. This scares me a little bit, how close this is right here. But I'm going to hope for the best. This short piece of webbing should be sticking out to the outside. We don't want to tuck that in. The other side is the one we want to make sure is completely tucked in. So I'm not quite sure whether to sew with a smaller seam allowance so that I can ensure that the binding covers up the stitches. I think I'm leaning towards that. I think I'm going to sew with a slightly smaller than full seam allowance, and then do the full seam allowance when I do the binding. Again, I went slightly shy of the seam allowance so that my binding will absolutely cover those areas. A couple things I wanted to mention. One, I never said trim this off, so we're going to trim that off. And I'm just going to follow the curve around here. It's sewn in a few different times now and has got the rivets in it and such, so I'm not worried about it anymore, but I did completely forget to say to get that off. I'm going to melt my ends here. So sorry. Just to prevent some fraying. Yeah, there we go. Two, depending on the size of your foot and whether or not you have a zipper foot. I don't have a zipper foot for my industrial machine. The foot that's on my machine, again, you've seen it now a few different times. It's a very, very narrow foot, but I don't have a zipper foot for my machine. So I was not able, I measured while we were off camera, and I am not able to reach the full seam allowance that it says for me to do for the binding with my on this machine. What I did was I went in here and I unpicked the stitches that were holding and separating the two rings here, what would be your buckle and your D-ring. I just popped those stitches out and pulled the rings all the way down to the end, holding them together with some resist tape, and I was able and will be able to sew around with the full seam allowance now. So if your foot does not allow for you to be able to do the full seam allowance, then I would just say pop those stitches, or maybe don't even put those stitches in yet, and leave your rings down at the end, and then just, oops, geez, I keep hitting that, and then sew your binding on, and then you can sew the rings in place at the end, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so now it's time for us to do our binding. I do my binding, I don't know if it's the right way or the wrong way, but how I do my binding is I start at the top. Everybody tells you to start at the bottom. I start at the top. Personal preference, I start at the top. I usually glue my binding down and let it sit and then go and sew it. I kind of really want to do that on this one. I'm not going to lie, because these curves are going to be tight. So I'm going to show you what I do. I use Beacon Fabri-Tac glue for my binding. It dries fast. It's not an issue to sew over. What is an issue is keeping it to where I can actually squeeze it out. It likes to not come all the way down for me to be able to squeeze it out. So that is an adventure once the bottle. I mean, my bottle is only not even half empty yet. So it shouldn't give me a struggle, but it does give me a struggle. I am going to use every clip known to mankind. I'm not even going to tell you differently. I'm going to move you over here a little bit. Okay. So I start at the top, counter to what every tutorial you've ever watched on binding says to do. I start at the top. We start at the top. I start at the top. I put the glue on my binding. If I can get the glue down. There we go. Okay. Put the glue on my binding. I don't put a whole lot. It doesn't need a whole lot. And I kind of just smear it on. I want it to lay well, but since I could have to trim this back some at the end, I don't need to put a ton on. And I do it little bit by little bit. I've made a bend. I'm using, again, waterproof canvas for my binding. I have made a crease in my waterproof canvas to be able to sit that middle right on the top, and then in theory my binding should be evenly spaced front and back. because the middle is sitting right there. So. Let's start stitching around this. I am going to start to the side of where my binding starts and stops. I'm not going to start right on that spot. Let's see what we look like though. Fingers crossed, because this is so pretty and I'm so excited. This is such pretty fabric. Oh my gracious. I am in love with the fabric. One of these mushroom pools too. All right, how do we look? Get off, yeesh, go away. I think it looks pretty darn good. What do you all think? This is our final finished product. She is so pretty. I love. Hi, Nixie. Nixie is letting me know that it is baby feeding time in the house. Look at this. Oh, she's so cute. I'm going to push this out in there. She's so pretty. I'm really happy with this. And these zipper pulls are adorable. Love the fabric, love the pulls, love it all. Cute little bag. All right. Hopefully I gave you some tips and tricks and ideas for how you can make this for yourself. And I hope you had fun today. And thanks for coming to sew with me.